Welcome back to another video, guys, and today I'm going to be talking about the OnePlus 7 Pro and specifically why I really like this phone and what I think OnePlus did really well this time around. So this is going to be a two-part video. This is the first part, and the second part is going to be where I talk about where I think the OnePlus 7 Pro failed to hit the mark and what I don't like about it. So watch out for that video. Once it's up, I will add a link down in the description below, so keep your eyes out for that. So let's start off with number one, and that is solid build quality. So OnePlus has always been really good at this, and they've always delivered on excellent premium build quality, even though their prices were not premium, especially in the past. However, now they are in the very close to the premium segment, but they still have a flagship quality, no doubt. You can pick up any OnePlus, even the cheaper 7 or the more expensive 7 Pro, and they both feel like flagship premium phones. Great build quality, it feels good in the hand, the materials used are very nice. Moving on, number two, this kind of goes on towards build quality, and it is just that it grabs people's attention. The phone, especially with the bright new color, the Nebula Blue, it does get a lot of people's attention. I've had a lot of people ask me about it. While I know they probably will never buy a OnePlus phone, they are definitely curious about what the phone is, what's so special about it, why it's designed the way it is. The display especially gets a lot of people's attention because there's no notch, there's no intrusion. It's just a flat slab of glass that's all displayed, which is very interesting, especially when you see it out in the open. Number three, this is something that I was actually very critical about with the OnePlus 6T, and that is the fingerprint scanner. The fingerprint scanner here is definitely improved. So what they did was they made the sensor larger, so you could scan your finger in a larger area now compared to the a little bit smaller area that was on the 6T. So what it did was actually it did improve the accuracy a lot more because people weren't getting the exact location right. It was a little bit off here or there. With a larger sensor, that does make the unlocking process a lot easier and a lot more accurate. Number four, we have to talk about that display. The display is extremely immersive. It has 90 hertz, it gets really bright, it's curved, it's a fancy display. I think that's the best way to put it. There's a lot of bells and whistles, and this is definitely where the 7 Pro was, a bulk of the time was spent on this display when they were designing and creating it. It looks beautiful, it's very immersive. The 90 hertz refresh is awesome, especially when you're scrolling through apps like Instagram, Twitter, wherever there's a lot of scrolling going on. It looks really good. Now, I did try a few games. I didn't notice a big difference between 60 hertz and 90 hertz. Maybe games don't support it as well, or it's just the way games are. A 30 hertz difference doesn't do much. But gaming-wise, it wasn't as noticeable, but it is definitely noticeable when you're scrolling through social media and through the UI. On the topic of smooth scrolling, number 5 is that the performance is absolutely amazing. It's very fluid. There was never any crashes, any bugs. Everything works as you'd expect, and it is very fast. The 12 GB of RAM makes sure that everything is open. I sometimes be surprised about what's still open. I'll come back hours later to something and it'll still be open exactly where I left it. So while it is overkill, I think that it's awesome because it will age way better than any other Android phone out there. And on the topic of performance, as we move on, I have to give props to Oxygen OS. So Oxygen OS is the name of OnePlus's skin, which runs on top of Android, and this is one of the cleanest, simplest, yet the one that adds the most thoughtful and useful features onto the Android experience. I really like it, and I really wish that Samsung, LG, Xiaomi would take a note out of OnePlus's page. This the skin feels light, it doesn't feel bulky, and it doesn't hinder performance in any way. It gets good software updates, and it really does just show that skins done right could be really good on top of Android. So once again, it just goes to show that software can be a big part in the entire experience. And I think that the Oxygen OS part of this is something I can very easily recommend to anyone. So number 7, I'm going to talk about battery life. So battery life, a lot of people initially were complaining about it. Personally, I've had no issues with battery life. It's been solid. There's been days where I've actually been able to get more than a day, 2 days of usage out of it when I was doing light usage. With normal to a little bit intensive usage, I get 1 day out of it, about 4 to 5 hours of screen on time. So the 90 hertz display, while it does take away from the battery, I think that as it stands, the battery does make sure that if you have moderate usage patterns, you'll get at least a day of usage out of it. I just want to point out that the 90 hertz could be turned off, so if you wanted to set it back to 60 hertz, I'm sure that the battery would take a huge jump up, and because it is larger than the 6T's battery, and the 6T had excellent battery life, so this is probably going to make it even better. So definitely, if you do want to save battery life, just turn off 90 hertz refresh, go back to 60, and you'll see a big difference there. So moving on, let's talk about those speakers, and they are loud, clear, and they're extremely balanced. They give great sound. They're more than decent, and they do a good job of making this entire experience, especially when you're consuming media. It does make the experience whole. And I have not found any situation where the speakers have let me down so far. So while they're nothing to brag about, there's no standout feature that makes me feel like they're amazing, it does do a great job, which I think that coming from past OnePlus phones that didn't have the greatest speakers, I think this is a good middle ground here, and if they keep up this performance moving forward, I would have no complaints. Let's talk about those cameras. So now we have 3 cameras on the back of the OnePlus 7 Pro, and we have a pop-up camera for the front-facing one as well. So the front-facing camera, it's pretty much the same thing that we've had for a while, except for that it pops out of the phone now. Nothing big there, but I do want to talk about the rear because that setup has changed quite a bit. So now you have a wide-angle lens, an ultra-wide-angle lens, and a telephoto lens. So you have 3 different focal lengths, meaning 3 different perspectives. And while the quality, I will talk about this in the next video about that, but the quality aside, I think it's excellent to have different perspectives. It's just so versatile, especially in situations where there's just not enough space to back up, or you want to get a larger focus on an area that's kind of tight. It's so good. I think that every phone should come with a ultra-wide lens moving forward, and I am so happy that OnePlus included an ultra-wide instead of doing some gimmicky time-of-flight camera or anything else. I'm glad that they chose ultra-wide instead of all of that. And finally, I'm going to talk about price. So while this is a huge price increase compared to the original OnePlus phones, it's still commendable at where they come in when you look at the device and when you look at the price. So you can get the maxed out 12 gigs of RAM, 256 GB of storage, OnePlus 7 Pro with all the bells and whistles for $760. So for $760, brand new, when you compare it to anything, you compare it to the Galaxy Note, the Galaxy S10, the Galaxy S10e, they're all lacking comparatively either in price, feature, some subset or the other. And the fact that OnePlus has been able to undercut them while giving you a lot of the similar experiences and better experiences when it comes to the display, I think that it's just, I wanted to be very angry at OnePlus for increasing the price again, but this time I think that they did very good with their price, especially when you compare it to the market. Now that being said, I do want to point out that OnePlus no longer is a budget flagship brand. It's getting right up there with flagships. When the 7T Pro comes out, which will probably be in a month or two, it will probably be even more expensive. And it's just OnePlus has quickly increased prices. I'm not sure where their ceiling is. I'm sure they're going to hit it pretty soon, but as it stands, the OnePlus 7 Pro is a great deal. And if you like the design, if you think it'll work for you, I definitely recommend it. It's a good phone, great price. Let me know if you have any more questions about the OnePlus 7 Pro down in the comments below. So that's going to be it for this one, guys. If you haven't already, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the channel and also follow me on social media. I'll have all the links down here. And as I said, it's a good phone. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.